That's right, the crew that brought you Leaped in a live stream is back with something brand new for 22, and you won't want to miss it. Leap into podcasting. We're taking a leap into podcasting this year, September 29th and 30th. It's our third year of Leaped into Live, and we're bringing all that same energy this year for this 2-day virtual event. Join us September 29th and 30th. Two days of live sessions, workshops, and panel discussion. Over 20 podcasting experts and brands bringing their expertise to leap into podcasting. Topics include planning, production, distribution, promotion, strategy, tools and gear, workflows, and more. Go figure. Doc is going to talk about gear. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Here's the best part, people. The tickets are absolutely free.
Say what?
Free. Nix, nil, nada, nine, nothing, zilch, zero, free. F-R-E-E, free. Say you're busy and you can't make it? No problem. We'll be selling a replay pass, which includes virtual and physical podcasting guides with notes and bonuses from all the sessions. We got you covered. RSVP and save your spot today at leapintopodcasting.com. That's leapintopodcasting.com. Chee-hoo.
Hey, Doc. Hey, everyone.
What's happening? So you think, Case? You ready? Did that jazz you up a little bit?
I'm ready. I'm like, yeah, but I'm also on, I think, like my third cup of coffee. So I'm like already on a natural high or an unnatural high.
This is good. Hey, that's one of my favorite old school tracks when I was a kid. Went through the sky on a natural high. I think that's it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Man, I was a little kid. Like, I used to have to hear that all the time because all the old people around me played it a lot. Anyway, gang, welcome to the flow. I can't believe
welcome.
We're already at episode 3. Like,
no, where are we? 3?
We're flowing.
Oh, yeah.
We're flowing.
Yeah, we're flowing.
It
feels a little weird that
Right.
episode 3 is our checklist episode, because we probably should have started with the checklist, but we had all the why podcasting stuff we had to get out of the way first. So now we're getting into the real flow, the flow of what you need to do.
It is kind of funny when you think about it, but yes, it's 100% true, right? We had to get the stuff flowing. So, no pun intended. I'm sorry. So, for instance, one of the things, and we're going to go through the whole checklist, but one of the things on the checklist talks about submitting your podcast to a lot of the directories. Well, many of the directories require you to have at least one episode. So,
Sure.
I had to go and record the trailer first so that you have a 1 episode. Now, some of the trailers, some of the housing places, the directories, they want you to have 2 episodes because they knew that people were cheating with trailers. And I'm like, okay. So we had to get a lot of stuff done. All right, guys. So today we are going to go through this new podcast checklist I created. And I swear I've made a bunch of podcasts. So most of this is from memory. If anything is missing, let us know and then we'll put it back. I think I got it nailed. I'm pretty sure.
I think we're there. We've been checking things off on our list.
Yeah,
so I feel like we're in a good
funny.
spot.
It's funny. It takes it's funny. I didn't realize how many steps there actually was until I went to go generate a checklist. And I'm like, wait a minute. I've done all of this stuff, multiple times, but it's an absolute trip to do this and realize that, wow, you really do have to do this many things. So let's see. The checklist is available for you folks. We do have a linky link. Let me just check in and see if Mr. Paul got the link already.
Yeah, Paul just dropped it. For those of you who are listening and you want to grab it, it is Ecamm, ECAMM.tv/flow freebies, all lowercase. So, and we'll be dropping all of the, free downloads and assets and extra things throughout this series into that same folder. So bookmark that folder, save it, however you want to keep it and reference it. There are 2 documents in there right now. The first is the checklist, as we're talking about today. And then the other one is actually just a full workflow. Like, how do you do this thing to be able to think through repurposing and what's the kind of recommended workflow from our team? So hopefully both of those are helpful. Obviously we're like right in the podcasting zone. We have Leap into Podcasting coming up soon. So there'll be lots and lots more resources and checklists and all kinds of stuff. So keep an eye out on that folder. Make sure that you save it.
It's funny when you say get into the zone. I was just thinking, are we sponsored by AutoZone yet?
Get into the zone, AutoZone.
Okay, guys.
That one's for free, AutoZone.
real quick, gang. There is a real quick housekeeping. We are recording this live for our podcast, so we will get to questions and answer at the end, time permitting. And the most important thing that you can do is drop a Q:, so that I can find your question. I'm not going to hunt for questions that are not Q:, just because it takes away from the flow. It's funny, I keep saying that. It takes away from the flow of doing this. And if for some reason we miss you today, don't worry. You can drop them into the Discord and or the Facebook group, and we'll pick them up there. Just let us know that you are questioning the flow. Yeah, that sounded better.
Podcast questions. Send them as your podcast questions. You can also email us flow@ecamm.com or marketing@ecamm.com. We're happy to answer.
I like how Mr. Duncan put the capital in there. The Q doesn't have to be capital, but yes. Now, the other thing that I wanted to remind everybody, this is a good time. If you are properly situated, it would be in your best interest to go ahead and pull down that PDF now so that you can go through with it with us, because I know what happens, and I do this too. I'm in the middle of listening to such a things and then not doing the checklist or not doing the stuff, later come back to it and having a question. And then Katie, other Katie, we literally just said, put the Q:, Katie Simpson. I know you're just bothering me because you're my friend. Anyway, Katie said, did you go about, okay, we'll get into that. Actually, did we cover that last time? No, don't worry. We'll cover you, Katie.
We did cover, but we can talk about it again. No worries. We got it.
Giving Katie a hard time because she's funny. I like her. Okay, so I'm going to do the screaming parts real quick. And then from the screaming parts, we will be able to start the flow. Okay, let me move this PDF down here so I don't accidentally hit it instead of hitting where you are. And then take a deep breath, drink a little water. Dun. Okay, gotta get, I didn't even drink coffee yet, so this one's about to be a wild one. As Katie has her third 40 of coffee.
I was gonna say I've had enough for the for all of us watching and listening. It's all good.
Oh, don't tell the boys, but I sent coffee to the Andover office to them for their birthday, so it should get there today.
Aww.
But make sure you steal some. They're not watching.
I will.
Unless he's on the other side of the office right now.
Nope,
okay,
not
good.
Today.
Okay, good. Just trying to get me in trouble, Kate. All right. So, gang, we're going to count this down. And 3. Aloha and welcome to The Flow. I am one of your podcast hosts, Doc Rock, the community manager here at Ecamm, along with my awesome sauce co-host, Katie Fawkes. Hi, Katie.
Fawkes. Hey, Doc.
Oh, my goodness. I can't believe it. We made it so far. We are almost halfway there. Now, the reason why I say that, it is statistically correct that most podcasts don't make it past 7 episodes. So we're at episode 3.
Well, we're not most people, so I'm not too worried about it.
After about, say, 15 minutes of this, we will be at the halfway point because we will have 3.5 episodes in. So we'll be good to go.
Hey, we may not be overly helpful past episode 6, but we're just going to be here hanging out. So you can stay with us. We got goals.
It's kind of cool. Like, again, wake up today, and last week's episode is there. Mr. Camera Junkie is an amazing editor. He got it all together. And the Descript thing, I actually watched it the first time from inside Descript, and I was just looking at the way the edits work. It's so good. Like I did it
It's
myself
so
the last
easy.
time, but it's a trip to just see that. I think it
Yeah.
should almost become a thing for certain movies that I would love to have the Descript on the side and the movie on the other side so you can like fully see the dialogue. It's gorgeous. It's just gorgeous. So thank you, Kate, for
It
doing
is awesome. No problem.
it. It made life super easy. All I had to do was throw it into Auphonic to give it a little sauce and then send it to Captivate. I'm like, oh, this is just a smooth process. Having your flow together, people, is sort of what we're talking about today, because in the process of getting ready to do a podcast, I thought it would be helpful if I could make a checklist for you guys to be able to go down and make sure you do everything. And it's a trip. I've never really did a checklist before. I just did it out of my head. But yeah, it was fun making a checklist. And I think it's nice. So hopefully you guys can get it. Again, we have it in the show notes if you're listening to the audio version. People in the live studio audios, you already have the link. But it's
Ecamm.tv
/flow freebies.
Flow freebies.
One of
And
these
Ecamm
days.
has 2 M's if you're listening and you don't know us, you're not best friends with us yet. ECAMM.
She said yet. She said yet. It's
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna win you over. We're gonna be friends. Just you wait.
Don't worry. Don't worry. We will get you. Okay, so let's go over the checklist real quick. But one of the things before we dive into the actual list is we have some questions that were put together for us. And oh yes, I wanted to give a shout out to, we did get our first review on iTunes, and I meant to pull it down, but I forgot, so don't shoot me. And it was from Gretchen. So thank you, Gretchen, for putting
Thanks,
in
Gretchen.
our review. I'll remember to grab it and pull it down so that way we can have it for the next show. I'll grab all of them if they're there. Let's get them. Let's get those reviews into iTunes, people. Okay.
Gretchen, we screenshotted that review and we shared it with the whole team. That's the level of enthusiasm that we have for your review. So thank you for taking the time.
Yes. It's super amazing. Okay. We're going to be best friends forever. Let's go. Let's go to point number 1.
Why is it important to have a checklist when starting a new podcast?
I tell you why. Because if you're anything like me, you're going to forget something. So even as we're getting ready to pack for a podcast movement coming up and a couple other things we're doing, I have several checklists just like, hanging around, waited to be filled out, because I hate it when I get to somewhere and I'm like, oh, snap, no gaffer's tape. Especially if you're somewhere where there isn't, a Home Depot, a Lowe's, or a Piggly Wiggly, or some camera shop, something where you can get access to things. So it's almost like that. It helps to make sure you have all of the right things in order.
Yeah. And to see the big picture, I think sometimes it's really helpful. I think you're similar to me, Doc, where it's like you get kind of, focused on, you're just doing your thing and getting it done. You know what you're doing. And, sometimes it's hard to see like how big is this thing? How long is it going to take? What's the full cost? What's the full budget that you want to allot to it? Having a really good understanding of like what that full picture is of starting and setting up a podcast is really helpful. As well, and similarly with your day-to-day workflow, it's just nice to kind of see what the entire process looks like, because you might want to have, team members or a co-host or a colleague helping you with a certain point. And so seeing like where that trade-off is or what those steps are, I think makes it really easy and helpful to have a checklist with you.
There you go. There you go. That makes a lot of sense. It's kind of funny because without the big picture, I think a lot of people get into, okay, so this is something that I've been struggling with lately, because I like to say things are easy because they are easy. But just because it's easy doesn't mean it doesn't have a lot of steps, right? So for instance, for a gentleman rocking a 3-piece suit, right, with your tie and your shoes and everything, it's easy to put one on. You put clothes on all the time. But putting your 3-piece suit together, there are a lot of steps, and you got to do all of them properly. Like on the outside with the jacket, it's always, sometimes, never, right? The 3 buttons, never button the bottom button on the jacket, guys. So, those are things that you learn as you get older, and, people teach you in the beginning when you're a little kid, somebody put the suits on for you. So yeah, put on clothes, it seems easy, but it's not as easy as you would think. So it's similar to that. It's a simple process, but you kind of need to pay attention, or cooking a steak.
Yeah.
That's another good one. Simple process, but done wrong, tastes like you're eating a Converse.
Yeah. I think too the final reason the final reason too is that this podcast in particular is completely focused on helping you, the listener, the viewer, the reader, the fan of us hanging out, to be able to understand what it takes to get up and running. So, having a ton of different resources and being able to visually see the entire process from start to finish is hugely helpful for all of you out there who are like, I've been thinking about this podcast thing, but I'm not quite there yet. Or I've been thinking about adding video to my podcast, but I don't know. I think having kind of the map on what it's going to take to get you there and what all the steps are, even if you're not going to check all these boxes, maybe some of them you're like, nope, not doing that aspect of it, which is fine. At least know.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I like that. All right, let's go to the second point. Kate's?
We're flying along. How much time does it take to complete this checklist? This one's for you, Doc, because I'm still at the beginning of working my way through this one.
I guess it somewhat depends. However, I think that there are portions of this that are never complete because you're going to do them with every episode. So in general, just to get a podcast up and running, you can do it in less than a day, honestly. Just depends on your level of
perfectionism.
Yeah, there you go. I was trying to think of a nice way to not curse myself
You're
out.
like, your level of extremeness.
Yeah. If you're not like me, you can get this done in a day. I tend to tweak out on things because I'm like, I got to make sure this is perfect. And honestly, especially anytime it comes to creating or podcasting in general, that has been one of the flaws for me, is me wanting to make it like it was when I was in radio. And I'm like, this is podcast, fam. It's not radio. You don't have to do all of those things. And I'm like, yeah, you do. It's like if you know how to help someone change a tire and you drive past them on the side of the road, you feel kind of bad because you could actually go help them. Yeah, I think that's how I am about trying to make things perfect when they don't have to be. Luis and I were talking about this the other day, even about putting out the edits. And I'm like, you don't have to make it perfect because we're trying to simulate, to people that it's okay to start crusty and get better. And he's like, he said, okay. And then I'm looking at the edit and I'm like, Luis, the edit's pretty flawless, dang it. What are you doing? Just rush it out. And he's like, no, I can't. I'm sorry, I can't. And I was like, all right, I feel you. All right. I was over here talking spicy, like I could do it and I can't either. But for you people that don't have this problem, don't start none, won't be none. # James Brown.
It's a fine line. It's a fine line to walk between, getting it right and producing quality content. So, you definitely want to be able to have a mission and have a purpose and get the content out there that you want to create. But yeah, don't try really hard. And this is from two serious perfectionists coming at you, but try really, really hard to let it go. If you're working through this checklist and each one of these steps is taking you days and days or weeks, there's something wrong. You're overthinking it. You need to take it back a level, and consider whether or not there's something else that's getting in your way, or maybe you're not prioritizing this properly. Maybe you're trying to do this in the middle of everything else, and it's in between a bunch of other things. So,
correct.
It shouldn't. Yeah, it's the same thing too with I think it was Ross that was asking a couple of weeks ago about how long it takes to edit a Descript transcript, which is a super awesome question. And again, when I first started, hours, where I was like every little word and I was like, this needs to be capitalized, this needs to be capitalized. And then you kind of get again into the flow of it, or, into the habit and the ritual of doing it over and over again. And the tool is learning. So at the same, it gets faster each time. So some of these checklist things, if it's the first time doing it, or it's just a one and done checklist on checkbox on the checklist, it may take you a little bit more time than some of these recurring steps that will become part of your process and will become part of your workflow. They will get faster as you're doing them more often, as you're more comfortable with it. this second week of us getting everything out audio wise, way faster than the first week. Cause you're like, I know, here are my list items, got them out, here are docs. I know he's got them out. So I think it goes faster the more that you do it as well.
Yes, it does. It definitely, because even as I was posting the episode that came out this morning, again, it was easier because I've already done it. Even though I've used Captivate for over a year now for my own podcast,
Yeah.
just going in and making sure that the episode is titled properly and things like that. It was just easier because I can recognize it quicker. Your eye will see things faster as well. So yeah, and again, just don't get I say you have about 10 episodes to do it as crusty as possible, and then from that, by the
And if
time
you've
you
made it
get to
past
10,
6.
it's automatically better. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, don't worry about it. Don't freak out, people. Don't freak out.
Deep breath, everyone. Deep breath.
It's the what is that Ants Lifeline? Don't worry, please go around the leaf.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, now I need to rewatch.
Oh
I
my
love
goodness. June and I watched that like every day for like 4 or 5 years because it was a great demo for the TVs in the store. It's super funny.
I love it.
All right,
I
let's
love
get
it.
down to the next question and we're going to dive into this PDF, people. Okay.
Oh, well, we kind of answered this, but if you can't do everything on this list, what are the top 3 absolutely no excuses must do items?
Okay, so now I gotta look at this real quick. The top 3 items. Very important, of course, to come up with your podcast name and description. I'm gonna count those as item 1. And then choosing your platform, that's a must. You have no choice, right? You gotta choose your platform. And then from there, I would say it's record that trailer episode. While that is processing, you can go start working on the other things. You know what I'm saying? But I think those are the ones you have to do right away. And it maybe it's technically 4 because after you have your trailer episode recorded, you're going to want to submit to the podcast directories. And the reason why I like to do this in as early as possible is because it takes a while for it to sort of work its way through all the different ones. And so, yeah, and like I said, some of them will not let you submit unless you have a trailer episode or a episode already done. You can start with episode 1 if you have it, but I like to do a trailer episode first and then put the regular episode. So that's technically it. Those would be the ones that I would choose.
Yeah, that was a hard question because there's a bunch of them on here that that are probably more on the mandatory side. Like you need to have a name, you need to have a niche. So, but I think that's a good top 3. I would agree with that.
I'm looking at, we got a cool one in the comments about pod fade, and yes, that is a real word, and I forget about it. But I myself have done it, so I know exactly. Pod fade is definitely a thing, and I think it's before the platforms got as good as say Captivate and Buzzsprout and Podbean and all these guys are now. The reason why you would get pod fade is a lot of the stuff that these platforms do for you now, you used to have to do by hand. And I can totally see where that became a thing. I say within the last 2 to 3 years, all the platforms got really, really well at covering a bunch of stuff for you. And there's like before, people didn't put episodic thumbnails, right? Or they call it podcast artwork. People would use the same artwork for every show. And, the platforms made it easier to go in and add those things. But in an MP3 file, if you remember correctly, back from the Napster LimeWire days, some of them would have the album cover and some would not, right? So one of the things in the MP3 format is this M3U data. It's a metadata that allows you to put things like a thumbnail, the album title, the track number, like all of those above. And before, you used to have to hand code all of that stuff with, really badly programmed utilities or, just literally write the XML file that attaches to the MP3 in whatever MP3 compressor you're using. So now the applications that are out there, they all make this. So even Descript has a place to do this in Descript. So it makes it so much easier, and then allows you to flow. I'm gonna stop saying that. It just keeps getting in my head.
You can keep saying it.
Okay.
It's all good for Mara.
All right, that's it. So what we want to do real quick is go through some of these things on the checklist. Again, if you're listening to this at home, highly suggest hit a pause real quick, download the checklist so you can see as we go through them. I will be presenting this on screen to the live studio audience. I like saying that, like, it's a Norm
I
Lear
know,
show.
it's made it so fun.
It's like a Norman Lear show recorded in front of a live studio audience here in Burbank.
Exactly, yeah. We're living the dream. We're living the dream here.
It's funny we're not in a Burbank. Man, I can't speak English today. Never mind. Anyway, so we're going to go through this checklist real quick, and I will highlight areas that I think require a little bit more explanation. If something comes up as we're going through, chat members, throw your hands up real quick so we can explain it for the kin folks at home. You'll be doing your home listening friends a favor. Wait, yeah, that sounded right. Okay, so let me show you the checklist. This, my friends, is the checklist. Visual people at home. There's a nice little logo at the top and a bunch of check boxes. Okay, so here we go. Create a niche. Very important to create a niche, pick a genre. And the reason why creating a niche and picking a genre is so important is most of your aggregators are going to ask you that question. You can change them later, so don't get too, nuts over it. And here's something else I just remembered as we were talking about it, because Dean Reynolds came into the after questions thing later. We had on the video that was posted on YouTube, and he said, "Why did you pick, Captivate, say, over Anchor?"
Yeah.
Anchor only allows you to get one niche. I mean, one category. That's one. I'm just not a fan. And then the other thing that they do is you'll notice when you set your stuff up, especially with Apple Podcasts, you have the ability to create sort of a network in case you become a multiple show type of personality. And they make you put the podcast on their Apple network thing, not your own. Because they're
it's worth
your
knowing all of this when
information.
when you're choosing one of these tools to help you. It's certainly worth knowing what the trade-offs are, right? So like what are the things that are most valuable to you and what are those trade-offs? So
And the number one reason I'm probably going to guess the number one reason why people pick Anchor is because it's free, but there's nothing that's free, people. So I believe that when you do that, the podcast goes in their thing, and the reason why is because then they get to use your information for their ad sales, and so I mean it's a trade-off. You're right, Katie's correct. It's a trade-off. Okay. Now we need to write a podcast name and description. Descriptions are very important because that's kind of the SEO. I don't think humans really read it. I don't think I've read too many descriptions myself, but it's very good for the SEO. Podcast art is very important. So we're going to dive through this really quickly, but podcast art is important. Number one, try to avoid copyrighted words in images. A lot of people don't know this, but Apple doesn't like you to put Apple into the titles of things, right? So even when we were at TWA, the unofficial Apple weblog was the name of the blog, they didn't like it, but they let it slide because we did it before they got super big. So as they got super big, they were like looking at us like, "Oh no, I really want you guys to change it," but they don't want to bother us because we were one of the papers of record when it came to Apple News. So they were letting it slide for us. But anybody that would come after us, they were hammering them right away. Stop. Nope. Can't do that. Can't do that. So be careful. Like if someone else was to go out and create the official Ecamm blog, we might get mad now. Back in the day, that probably would have slid because the company was smaller and we had less of a brand to protect. And as a company gets bigger, it becomes more important. So even for yourself, if you have a brand thing, like you make a product, like you make Gretchen's compression socks, you gotta be careful of the fan stuff that comes out. Just, accept them because they're helping you, but think about how it could be conflated with you, right? So that's something that we all have to watch out for. Now that we're a bigger company, we have to watch out for people using Ecamm just in any old thing, right? So just ask us first. That's
Yeah.
important. If you're going to do it,
Yeah.
ask first.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you was going to scold more.
No, I wasn't gonna go. No, I'm in agreement for it. I think that there's a lot that goes into podcast artwork and graphics, more than probably meets the eye. I think a lot of us who have been here in the kind of streaming and content creation space are very used to the idea of of YouTube thumbnails or creating thumbnails or graphics or even video graphics. But I would challenge you that even if you are doing a little bit of reading or research on what makes podcast artwork different is important. There is a lot that goes into it. I think that people don't totally understand it, and I'm even learning myself as we're diving into this process. So in our upcoming Leap into Podcasting virtual conference is happening at the end of September. We're going to do an entire session all about artwork and about how to use tools like Canva to make it yourself and to make it seem really professional and something that's going to be really eye-catching. But yeah, I think there's a lot that goes into it, and I love that you pointed out all of the different things that could get you in trouble, because it's not just sitting in one place, or it's not just sitting like on your own social channels. You're putting it out onto, Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all these different spaces. And so there's going to be rules and, regulations and potential blockers that could happen at any of those points. So you really need to be much more careful about explicit language or, any kind of trademark or brand or copyright issues that you might run into. It's a lot bigger than if you have a video sitting on your own channel.
Was scary.
Yeah, not fun. Not fun. We don't want anyone to experience that. So much more severe than the copyright claim that YouTube might hit you up with here and there. It's you definitely don't want to mess with it, especially if you're
got one of
doing
those from Miller High Life, because we had a brand here in Hawaii called High Life, and they were like, you can't use that. And I was like, it's HI. There's no GH. It's just HI Life.
Yep.
What does that mean?
Yep.
I don't know, dude. Where'd you send the letter to? Hawaii, you dummy. Look at the thing. And they were not happy. And I was like, no one is going to conflate that with beer. Like, not even close. It's a hala tree. It's a big Hawaii tree. You've seen them before. And we had all the little islands hanging off the trees as if they were branches. And no one's going to look at that and conflate it with beer. But they weren't having it. Because once we got popular, they were not having it. They're like, nope. So it's like, okay.
Yeah, you have to be really forward thinking in some of this too. So it's not just, it's, even some catchy names that you might think make sense, do yourself a favor and double check, Google search and see, even if it's, a similar sounding name, but it's in the same niche or same genre that you're in, you might want to think about rethinking that choice. Or maybe it's a similar sounding name that's in a different genre, but you might bump up against it. And this goes just for, for names as well as for any kind of artwork that you're doing. But it's once you've started building momentum and you have an audience, it's much, much harder to make those changes later and to deal with any of the ramifications that come from it. So, in this early stage, while you're still checking off these boxes, it's a really good time to just spend a little bit of time doing some research to make sure that doesn't come back to bite you later.
There you go. Gonna make a change. Anyway, stop.
Speaking of copyright infringement.
Okay, so I try to avoid offensive words. That's kind of obvious, and it's only because in your podcast art, it's going to be seen on gigantic TVs nowadays, right? Or the car screen. Keep the design simple. This is hard for people. I know you try to get cute, but you got to remember it's going to get tiny, right? So don't use more than 2 fonts again, because the image is going to get tiny. And then use really high resolution images, again, because the image is going to be seen tiny. A lot of people, you're going to see this. Look at your phone and go to podcast directory in your Apple Podcast app or your Android Play app, and you'll see this is the reason why. And you'll see a lot of them, you cannot read the thumbnails. You do not want to be that person, right? Look at the people that have really nice, clean, easy to read thumbnails. That's what we're trying to copy off of. Make sure you use good contrasting colors, same reason. And yes, you can use your face, unless your face looks like mine. um, set up your social
Don't
profiles
use
for your
Doc's face.
podcast. Oh yeah, don't use my face. This one was a challenge for us as a brand because there's
Yeah.
Ecamm the company, Ecamm the software, and Ecamm the brand. Ecamm Live is actually the software. Ecamm the company is a myriad things. We have more than just Ecamm Live. A lot of people don't know that. The boy's been at this for a long time.
Yep.
So we decided, and it could change later, that we were going to run everything under the actual Ecamm moniker because this is to highlight the functions of Ecamm Live. At some point in time, if we get big enough, we might need a separate Twitter and
Yeah.
Instagram account for the flow. But think about
Yeah,
that as you
absolutely.
start. Are you doing this to expand images by Gretchen? And I only picked her name because I can see it in the corner of my eye. Or
Hey, Gretchen.
if you are trying to do a very particular product, which is Gretchen's compression socks. She don't really make compression socks. I just keep saying that because I'm looking at my list of things to put in the travel bag. The old people problems. so yes, just
Yeah,
make
it's a
sure you
good.
do that. Go ahead, Kate.
Yeah, and I mean, rule of thumb anyway, for years of working in the social media marketing space is that only open accounts that you can consistently update and manage. So if you are, if you already have like an amazing online presence, and you're launching this new podcast or video podcast, it might not be a bad idea to start by just leveraging what you have and start talking about it on those platforms before you make the decision to actually open up its own platforms, because you will be splitting your time. So if you're the kind of person that's like, all of a sudden you're going to have two Twitter accounts, two Instagram accounts, two Facebook pages, and unless you have the bandwidth to be able to populate those with unique and relevant content, it's not going to be worth it. The worst thing you could do is open up all those accounts, spend all that time, spend all that money and effort, get it up and running, and then not have any, have it end up in a deserted island space because you don't have enough content or you ran out of time to be able to properly manage them. So yeah, only do what you can take on, only do what you know you can do well.
I'm saying this again for the people in the back. Do not create accounts that you cannot consistently keep up with. That
so
is
true.
a nail in the coffin. That one will jack it up really, really quickly. Okay, let me go some further. We have create a coming soon webpage or email landing page. Most of the podcast creating places now, like Captivate, they have this built in, so it's not like you're generating a full HTML template. Most of them have this built in. A lot of them, if you got the smallest plan, it may not be part of the smallest plan. You might have to step up. This is one of those ones you can sort of skip, but I think it's important, if possible, knock it out. Okay, so this is going to save you a lot of time, right? I'm going to go to the top. Make yourself a podcast equipment checklist, okay? So these are the things that you're going to need. You're going to need a computer. You're going to need headphones, microphone stand, some sort of mixer and or interface, a pop filter, and recording and editing software. So let me explain these real quick. Computer doesn't take a lot of power. As a matter of fact, nowadays, your computer can be an iPhone or an iPad. I know a whole bunch of people that do their entire productions just on iPad. It's just that when I put this in my head, I wrote computer. I should have actually put computer or mobile device, because a lot of mobile devices can do all of this stuff now. There's some great podcast specific apps in your iPhone and your iPad, but also for the most part, computer doesn't need to have a lot of, craziness in order to record a podcast. When you go to the editing side, you're going to wish you had a little bit of bass, but you can record one with pretty basic computer, right? So don't freak out. Don't go buy a Mac Pro just to do that. Headphones are very important. You do not have to get the podcaster can headphones that cover your whole head. Yeah. Both of us use in-ear monitors. I love these because it's great. It allows you to get a little, flow with your head and you don't look like Mickey Mouse. For those of you who are conscious about that thing, I just like them because they sound great. They're inexpensive. And I tend to buy expensive over-the-ear headphones because I like listening to, music at a level of enjoyment. And overusing them for podcasts, it eventually breaks them, and it sucks. So I like my headphones to be my headphones, and these to be for this, right? So these are $20. So good way
Yeah.
to do it. Microphone can be anything, starting from something as simple as a Samsung Q2U, which is a $50 mic, and all the way up to something fancy like a U87, which is not $50, or a C800, which is like $8,000. So yeah, it could be anything you want. I've recorded podcasts on the Sony C800, which was really stupid, but it was fun because it was neat to get the people it was a video for the people to see, like, where the heck did you get a Michael Jackson microphone? And I'm like, told you people, I like microphones. It's a crazy thing. So I stole it from my dad, actually. And yeah, anything, your phone, you can record your phone. Nowadays, it's going to get better if you use a dedicated microphone, but don't stop yourself because you think you need to come out SM7B. It's not necessary.
Yeah, you'll work your way up to what you should always have a future goal anyway, and you'll work your way up there. So yeah, start with something simpler, cheaper, focus on the content first, and and as you get better and more popular, then treat yourself. start working up towards what you want.
I like that. Started with a goal in mind. I really like that. And microphone stand just allows you to have your hands free. Also, you kind of don't want to be touching the mic. Now, this mic doesn't make noise when you touch it because that's the reason why you buy an SM7B. But a lot of mics, every time you touch the mic, if you've been in church and you go to move the mic and to say something, it goes, or you're testifying at a hearing, and every time you touch the mic, it makes a noise. That's a junk mic.
I thought we were like testifying, like testify.
They want to testify. Just reach the sky. See, stop giving me music Tourette's, Katie.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
The pop filter is important. Let me grab one. For the folks at home, I'm holding up a gigantic piece of foam that you've all seen on top of mics. This is the one that came with the Shure SM7B. But pop filters are nice. They really help you from protecting your microphone from the plosives. So when you, Peter, picked a Paul Duncan like that, it doesn't go. So you probably didn't even hear it as good as it would be if I didn't have that. So pop filter is good. If you don't have a pop filter, there's some really nice ones you can just clamp on. They're like $10-15 on Amazon. It looks like a circle with a gooseneck, and you just put it right there. That'll help out a lot. And then recording and editing software, man, the list is massive. I like Audition and Logic, but you can edit in so many things. And Audacity, which in this case is free and actually good, you can just do it in Audacity. Every Mac comes with GarageBand, so you can go to town in GarageBand for free.
Also, you can use Ecamm Live.
Oh, that's for the recording part, but we don't.
Yes.
But yes, recording, I'm going to definitely say start with a video. Like we covered that already. Start with a video. Record it inside Ecamm because it will make your life easier. It just does. Yeah. It's so simple. It's funny. As a person who just made an entire video that I recorded in Ecamm and chopped it up in Final Cut Pro, and you watched it at the beginning of this episode, I'm going to tell you, like, recording in Ecamm and editing in something like Final Cut Pro or Premiere, it's just so fast. It's just really, really quick. Probably the greatest thing since sliced bread because you don't have to insert an SD card and copy the files over and then wait for them to convert. And yeah, none of that. I'm on 3 cups of coffee by that time. All right, let's see. What else do we have on the list? This is so much fun. All right, so you want to pick a hosting platform. We kind of covered that in the first 2 episodes. Again, if you don't hear why I picked Captivate, it was in last week's episode. Go back and check that out. And then publish a pre-launch episode. This is what I mean by getting yourself set up so that these directories will take your show. A lot of them will not take your show unless it has an episode in place, but you don't want to wait until you start. You want to have it because you want to talk about in your episode where to get the episodes. You see what I mean? So this is why you post a trailer episode. It's like a cart before the horse. My favorite directories are as follow, and there are more. Now, each platform might have difference, but these should primarily be on every platform that you go to. And being the weirdo that I am, I had them in alphabetical order, and then we added iHeartRadio, and it's not. Okay, so it's Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Castbox, Castro, Deezer, Google Podcasts, aka the Google Play Store, Pocket Cast, Podchaser. Love me some Podchaser. I'll explain that in detail in a second. Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, and iHeartRadio. Messing up my alphabetical order list.
Oh, we have to redo it and send it back out to everyone.
Man,
it's not in order.
OCD is strong up in here.
Yeah, I hear ya.
So the reason why Podchaser is amazing, it is like IMDb for podcasts. And like, for instance, I get to go add an entry into Podchaser this week. If it didn't automatically pick it up, I was a guest host on Twit, which is a massive podcast. One of the oldest running podcasts in the business, been out for a little over 18 years. So
that's awesome.
In theory, if I keep showing up there, which luckily I've been there, I average about 4 or 5 times a year, it will automatically stick me on that list. So when people come to look for the flow and they're like, hey, I wonder if this show's any good. And they go, oh, that guy's also on Twit. Oh, it must be good. Let's go listen. Right? So
yeah,
this is the
super
reason
valuable.
why you want to do it. I mean, we do it with IMDb. Where do I know that face in this show from? Right? You look, it was Golden Girls, or something. So.
That's me. Every single TV show that I watch, I have like it open and I'm like, who's that person in the background? I think I've seen that. Yeah, I spend all the time doing that. So yeah, I think it's super worthwhile.
At all times. I even made a login for IMDb. This is how bad it is. Okay, so there you go. It's important thing.
I love it.
So yes, make sure that you go ahead and submit it. Now, in Captivate was really simple. They have a grid on the page, and you just go by and check all the things. Some of them, there's actually submit to one, and because they all use the same sort of aggregate format, it's submitted to like 10 places automatically by itself. But the big ones, Apple and Google, they require you to do some things. And Amazon was part of that automated checklist. So that was really cool because that was one of the first ones we got done was Amazon because it was part of the Captivate automated checklist thing. So super, super handy, people. Okay, let's dive in.
Yeah.
Now we're going on to page 2. This is cool.
Page 2.
These are the things that are going to save you time on a recurring basis, if you will. Okay, so create a show note template, which means...
Wait, we got to go to page 2. We're not seeing page 2.
I'm on page 2.
Okay.
Wait, you don't see it?
Nope.
What's happening here?
What's happening? What's happening?
Oh.
I mean, I see it on my page too.
No.
I don't see. There you go. Yay, we did it.
Here's what's funny. You cannot change the page in the PDF program and not change it in Ecamm doc. It doesn't work that way.
Anyway, all right, sorry. Go ahead. We're now on the show notes.
Moving on to page 2. All right, these are the things that are going to save you a lot of time as you process your show because these are very reoccurring, right? So create a show note templates, which means things like a full transcript, links to sources, keep sort of a consistent format with your show notes as you post them. Again, most of the places like Captivate and Buzzsprout, Podbean, all of these guys, they have a spot to put in your show notes right there. It makes it easier. Captivate to me is the easiest one in the industry, so I pretty enjoy that. Make sure you create a catchy SEO blurb. And the reason for that is when someone's looking for your episode, it will show up in the regular Google box as if it were a web page because you end up with a web page for every show, right? So creating a catchy SEO blurb is there. And it's really just, simple. It's not difficult. Don't worry about it. If you have to skip it, but it helps if you leave it there. Make sure that the notes and your transcripts are easily skimmed through, and then have a good finishing paragraph with the call to actions, which I can demonstrate for you in a second, and highlight any quotes and stuff that you may have and include graphics on your show note if your host provider allows it. So I do want to polish ours up a little bit, but an ending podcast goes as follows. The Flow is a production of Ecamm Networks. You can try out a 14-day trial of Ecamm by going to ecamm.com normally sticking your affiliate link, people. If you're an Ecamm affiliate, which you should be, stick that affiliate link right there, right? Actually, instead of me doing this, I should have pulled Jared's one because Jared's is gorgeous. And you can say, remember, if you didn't get a chance to already, please follow up and leave us a review on the old iTunes. And this podcast is available at Apple, Google, Stitcher, Amazon, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and wherever the podcast getting is got. Copyright 2022 Ecamm Network. That's a good finishing paragraph. I mean, you can make it as fancy as you want. So that's important to have. And we still need to polish ours because I just been doing it, but it should be way more fancy than that. It gives people the vibe that this is like, again, an NPR show. Listen to the endings of NPR shows or Freakonomic Networks. Dun, 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 Stitcher, right? Like, that's why it's there. Yeah, listen to the endings of good shows and build your show off of that. It doesn't have to be perfect in the beginning, but you want to get it there as soon as possible. Any thoughts, Kate?
No, this is great. This is beyond the steps that I've gotten to. So I'm learning in co-host mode. I'm like, yep, that makes sense.
Now, this was incredible. And luckily, Katie and I did this early on. And you should get yourself a list of topics that you're going to cover. Put them somewhere. Build yourself an idea bank. I put in here Apple Notes, Asana, ClickUp, Drafts, Google Notes, Notion, record small videos for yourself. I'll explain that in a second. And spreadsheets and Trello. You want to build yourself a good recording spot so that, if you sit down to an episode, what should I record today? You can go, okay, I'll take number 7 for 100, Alex, right? It's do yourself a favor. Trust me. This also allowed our graphics team to make the thumbnails for like the first 10 episodes already. They're just ready to go. So all they have to do is record them, and that's part of your flow, you see? So you're taking a step away from yourself. So while you're forced to watch something on TV that you didn't want to watch, that you end up kind of liking, I can't believe I didn't want to watch Severance at first. I was wrong. That show's wicked. You could be building thumbnails on the fly. So give you something to do.
Absolutely.
Now, I said record small videos for yourself. Let me explain this real quick. If a lot of times I would write these little notes on these little note cards. I got note cards everywhere, right? I got field notes pocket, Moleskine in the pocket, like all these things. And when I go to read it later, I have no context. So recently what I've been doing is just taking the phone, pressing the camera icon. While the phone is asleep, you can just hold the camera icon and wake it up. And they'd be like, okay, this is a reminder to me that the next time I decide I want to do, an episode, I kind of want to talk about picking good XLR cables. That's something nobody ever really talks about. Stop, right? Now when I go to look at those, I can actually know what I was talking about. So record yourself a voice memo or video memo. I pick video memo because all of our people are live producers. So the thing that we always hear, I don't feel good on camera yet. Do a bunch of those, you'll get good. Just by yourself. So there's that. Okay, let's go. Now we want to record our first episode. We did that. Edit the first episode. Boom, did that. Record an intro and outro. That's kind of the paragraph type of thing. Or, hey, everybody, welcome to the flow. If you want to have the same intro and outro every time, that can be done. Ours is a little organic for right now, so we don't really have this box checked. So I would say that is optional. Upload to the hosting platform. Again, we use Captivate. I have 2 episodes that Katie just recently published that shows you how I went through the Captivate process. Most of that stuff should translate to whatever you're using, but I think Captivate is the answer. And create an email list. We already have that. And then create a community space. We already have that. And then press the launch button. Yeah! That's the best part. Now, this is also part of your reoccurring situation is you want to promote your show. So remember to ask for reviews. Remember to create avenues for your potential listeners to connect with you. In our case, that's through our direct email, flow@ecamm.com. That's through our social channels. That's through our Discord. And that is through our Facebook. So we have a bunch of that stuff. Create intriguing teasers. Well, we're doing Leaped into Podcasting, and we have an ad that we can play right in the middle of our stuff. That's a good teaser. Also, at the end of the show, Katie likes to tell us what's coming up next week. And then so you can say that in the previous episode, that's a teaser that brings you to the next episode. If you are the type of person that batch records, like my friend Sally, she batch records, she can actually play a little snippet of the next show on the current show, right? You see this all the time in television. So there is that, people. And you want to generate your subscribers from your mailing list, which Katie does. She sends out the mailing list. Involve social services of media influencers. Involve these services of social media influencers. Asking people that are in your network that are very powerful to help you promote the show, come on the show, be a guest. So like, as we get into this, we'll bring in somebody like Nikki, right? And Nikki will be able to help us, add a little, what is the word I'm looking for? Influence is the
Je ne sais quoi.
Je ne sais quoi. There we go. Which means I don't know. It adds a little credence. There you go. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, there you go.
Network on social media, and if you really get it to how you want to get it to, run some paid ads. Use your guest network, which is what I mean by bringing Nikki onto the show, and then use your network. So that's all the different ways that you promote, and it ain't the whole thing. There's so much more to promoting. It's a never-ending process, right? So the promoting side is, I think, where most people stop. And how come nobody listening to my show?
Yeah, no one's going to listen if you're not focused on the content. So, again, like all of these, all of these things on the checklist, like there's no point in bringing on influential guests if they're not the right guests that relate to the content that you're trying to create and the audience that you're trying to serve. And, no one is going to come if you don't consistently give them the information that they need and post it at a consistent time and, and show up. So, we send out an email every Monday morning to our Ecamm show network that lists all of our upcoming, live shows and information on this podcast. Every single week, we always, we have links to each thing. We have, what the episodes are. We do that a week out so that people know consistently when each show is, but also can get that reminder, that email that says, hey, it's coming up on this, this day and time, and they can click through and get an RSVP through YouTube or add it into their calendar so that they remember to come. So I think it all works together. If you're not checking those boxes and being really consistent with how you're creating content and what your workflow is, the promotion isn't going to matter. People are not, you'll just be screaming into the void. It's going to take time, and you're going to need to be, really consistent, really purposeful with how you're sharing, where you're sharing, and the value of the content that you're bringing out.
It's funny because you're right. The two things, the consistency part of just showing up and being there. And then I think another thing that everyone always wants is like, oh man, I wish I can get so-and-so on my show because they're going to give me 1 million views. You might get on that single episode, but it doesn't mean they're going to do anything or listen. So it doesn't help.
But if it's not, exactly. And if it's not relevant to your existing, 50 people that are listening. So, okay, great. You have, thousands of people for that one episode, but then you've antagonized the 50 people who show up week after week. So, you need to be really strategic with who you have on the show, the value that they're bringing. If it's the right person and they're bringing thousands of people, you win. If it's the wrong person and they're bringing thousands of people, you likely have created an issue for yourself and for your regular followers, your regular viewers.
That's very, very brilliant. I'm just getting ready to just remind you guys that the most important thing you can do is like pull our check. It's a template. You can take that guy and rearrange it and adjust it how it matches your style. You can create it in Canva or Adobe Express or, something of that nature, Pages on your computer, Keynote even, Illustrator. Make yourself a checklist. Have that sucker ready to go. It will make your life so much easier. And then that's how workflows exist. It's because to go down and have the little check boxes, right? So it's funny. I used to get irritated when I would go to places like when you first started working, and I was working at this pizza shop, and they used to give us this checklist we had to do every day. to make sure that the doughs are in the right place, all the little veggies is
Yep.
cut, the tomato sauce bins are filled, the mozz as we called it, mozzarella things were filled, and blah, blah, blah. And I hated those checklists. I'm like, man, we come in here, we make pizzas 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. We know this inside, outside, backwards, like, whatever. Like, why do we got to do this checklist all the time? Always thought it was irritating. And that was high school. And I go to the military where everything lives on checklists. And always thought that was irritating. In one of my jumps, pulled the parachute cord and it opened what's called the closed canopy. It opened like this. And then I'm like, uh-oh. And I'm just thinking, I should have been nicer to Miss Rosen. I'm going like 210 feet per second. You're coming to the planet faster than you wish. And all of a sudden, what pops into your head in a situation like that is, you're training, do the checklist. Okay, try to untwist the risers. It doesn't untwist immediately. Go down the chain, disconnect, pull your reserve, land on the ground safely, call your mom. Right?
Yeah.
So after a situation like that, or, being a paramedic in the military, when we go to certain sort of rescue situations, you follow a SOP or standard operating procedure or protocol. You go right down a checklist. I got it, and now I'm a checklist phenom because of things like that. And you don't really realize it. When you watch your airplane guy walk around and touch everything and do all of the hand motions or whatever, there's a reason for that. It's so that you can easily and just argue with TSA. They're never the problem. That's the checklist. So it's very important. Don't laugh at it. Don't overlook at it. It probably will stop you from doing something crazy.
Yeah. And I mean, even if you're, after a couple times of printing it out and actually checking off the boxes, have just like stick it somewhere on a wall or have it on your phone or iPad in front of you, or, taped to your desk next to you, wherever it is, so that, because you are going to have days. Doc and I are having lots of these days this week, but you're going to have days where you're going to be overtired. Everything is going to be going wrong. You're going to be running later than you want to record. You're going to have, I guess there's going to be things that are going to cause distractions, and being able to visually have it in front of you is going to give you that moment where you say, oh shoot, I didn't send the audio file out, or, I did these things, but I forgot to post about it on Facebook, or whatever that thing is that you inevitably are going to forget, even though you've done it a million times. Having it in front of you is going to give you that visual cue and that reminder for the days where you need it, because everything else is coming at you. So whether you're physically checking those boxes or you're going through the process in your head, that's fine. But having it in some way as, a little cue card or something visual to just give you that level of confidence and be that parachute, that backup underneath you, I think is going to be hugely important. Yeah, Paul says it's only Tuesday. It's only Tuesday, and we are all hanging in there. We need these visual reminders.
All right, gang. So speaking of Tuesday, every Tuesday you can come here and be part of the live taping, like the Mr. Moderator Paul and DJ Strick just showed up. And so a lot of our family's here. Anna Info just was here earlier. And my buddy, Leah Little, we got to meet her at Social Media Marketing World. She is just a ball of energy. Absolutely love her to death. She's amazing. But you can come and be part of the studio audience and hang out with us, ask questions live, or if you have to, continue to just be subscribed to the podcast like you did, and you can listen to it in your car while you try to refrain from yelling at the kids. That's what we're here for. We're just a distraction so you don't get on the news. That would be my mom. Would you be quiet back there? Huh? So, guys, every Tuesday you can come here for recording. And again, the episode comes out next week. Thank you, Katie, for helping us get through this checklist. You covered the ending, so I don't have to redo anything else in the ending. Download the checklist, people. It is available in the show notes if you're listening to the audio version. The studio audience, the checklist link has been posted. It also will be attached to the video that gets posted right here to YouTube. We'll be back next Tuesday, and we're live. We'll be live, like recording at Podcast Movement.
We'll be live on location. I love the live on location.
Bananas. I just said the bananas part to drive Rich crazy. Gang, so thank you so much for being part of the flow. Now, at this point in time, we're going to dive in and answer some questions with our studio audience. So we really do invite you to come and check us out live. It's way more fun.
Mhm.
Now, let me give a closer for Luis to put in the thing. This Flow podcast has been a production of Ecamm Network. You can find all about us over at Flow at... You can... repeat. This has... Okay, I'm going to stop. This has been The Flow, a production of Ecamm Networks. You can find out more by sending emails to us at theflow@ecamm.com. You can also find this at flow@ecamm.com. And anywhere all of your podcast getting is got. There you go. Whew. Have fun with that, Luis. All right, let me cover some stuffs in the questions really quickly. Oh, I need to remind you, this graphic is for Luis to put over what I just said while I should have been pressing this button while we were talking. And this graphic also is for Luis to put over the videos wherever necessary. Okay. All right. Now we can go back to answer questions. I pulled some of these
Look
bad
at all you
boys.
beautiful people. I
Right?
love
There's
it.
so much people going down. Luis said, I got you. There's so much going down in the chats. So, thank you. Janice says, this is truly blessed me or whatever. I can't read. I've totally been skipping adding the transcript. Here's the reason why you want to add the transcript, Jay Nice. Because Google gives you credit in your SEO score for having the 501 compliance.
Yep.
Which
they can't see a video or an image, or they can't listen to it can only see text. So if you want to show up, you got to get that transcript in there somewhere, whether it's a blog post or your show notes or the important bits into a description on YouTube, wherever you got to put it, but you got to get that text in there.
True story. And typical Janice, 2 questions back to back. I'm just teasing you, Janice.
All the best questions.
Instead of finishing paragraph, spoken or both. I do both. The reason why, number one, it would be in your transcript anyway, but I actually like to put it in the show notes just because people immediately go to the show notes looking for links. And so in a way, it's good to have them both. So I actually do both. And that is a fantastic question, regardless of me teasing you. And then, what's up, Roy says, when you use Ecamm to record your podcast under prefaces, set record isolated audio tracks so you can mix them in your audio software. The man is not wrong. The man is not wrong.
We have isolated video coming soon too. So if you're not already, you need to be in the beta testing group, ecamm.com/beta. Beta, 100%. If you're in
the beta or beta, as honest as beta.
Beta, yeah, all those things.
Leah was just making nice things to me. Thank you, Leah. Thank you for always coming and say cool stuff. She was fun. We got to meet her at Social Media Marketing World, which is amazing. She's an amazing boss. 3 Days Straight came to make trouble to us. Good to see you here.
Hey, Straight.
Andy said, I know Libsyn has integrated with Canva that allows you to create episode art and bring it in. Nice. Man, Canva has been doing some things.
Yeah, Canva's been doing a ton of stuff. It's a really great platform. And we've been chatting a little bit more with the team at Libsyn. They're awesome. So shout out to the folks who are also Ecamm fam at Libsyn, Team Libsyn, who have been listening and helping and asking questions. So
we're going to see
them coming out.
We're
going to see them in a couple of days.
So there's that. Yeah, the other artist formerly known as Katie says she just posted a 5-star review. Thanks, Katie. And then,
thanks, Katie.
Is it weird when you say that? No, anyway.
It's so funny. When I was in school, no one could ever spell my name correctly, and older folks would always assume that my name was Catherine and shorten it down to Kathy, which apparently is a much more respectable nickname. So for a while, I just started spelling my name Katye. I was like, both of them all in. Katie. Yeah, all of it. So
wait, so you're
no
Katie
longer weird.
Is short for Catherine?
No, I am a walking, talking nickname. My full name is Katie, so I have nothing to fall back on.
That is nice. You know, when I was a kid, there was this candy called Katydids, and that was like seriously one of my favorite things. Whenever I would see them, and we always had them on the living room table because they were for company. But I would always slide in. And, I had the brown paper. I would lift up and sneak one from underneath the bottom. And my grandmother would be like, who the heck been in this candy? I'm like looking at my sisters like them, and she's like, not name one of them eat this chocolate. So I know it was you. Rich said, do you recommend a separate episode coverage? Absolutely, Rich. And what it is you don't have to do it like a full-on YouTube thumbnail, but now that a lot of people are watching these things on car plays, or, you look at a Tesla, right? Man, I was like, what is this behind my head? And it's me. I was like, I just kept seeing this thing moving back there. A lot of times with the way the podcast imagery work, you have like a Tesla. It has like a iPad Pro on the dashboard, or now you got these 9-inch wraparound screens. And so now podcast images is more important than ever before because so many cars have that built-in CarPlay, so many TVs, and the Alexa show in the kitchen. There's just, the devices are making it harder for people to get lazy. Let's just put it that way. So that is important. Boom, boom, boom. Of course he did, Paul. He said there's a new beta of version 8 just dropped. Glenn always drops betas whenever
it's because
I'm
Doc's live. Yeah, exactly. If Doc is live, traveling, or on vacation, good news to everyone else because betas are coming.
I swear, Glenn does that on purpose, man. I'm telling you. He says, oh, I forgot. And I was like, okay, you forgetting like 8 times is not a thing, Glenn. It's super funny. Hey, Earl, good to see you here. He says the checklist will help. We'll put that baby to use. All right. See,
Yay.
Earl is in the building. I like it. And just checking, see anything else. Yeah. Oh, the beta has chapter markers now. Yes, that's true. And I keep forgetting to press that button.
Yeah.
What? Strict, what do you mean video 2? You got to fully ask a full sentence because I missed what the context is. And I want to make sure.
I think Strick might be talking about the video ISO. That's not yet in beta, but it's on its way. Yeah.
Got it.
If that's what you mean. I assume that's what you mean.
Got it. Hey, Dean. Dean is here. Hopefully when I stop in Virginia, I get to go visit Dean. So be kind of cool. Gang, this is just an absolute blast. Thank you guys for coming every week. The live studio audience makes it easier to record. And this is why we're really going to be pushing this record your podcast as a video first approach. It's so much more, and I hate to use this word. I hate the word comfortable, but I can't think of a different word. It is so much more relaxing to record when you have people in the audience and, they can throw little things your way to remind you of things as you're, doing your recordings, going through your slides or whatever. Just it's super helpful. So we appreciate all you guys. And then people like Katie and Gretchen who've already gone into the iTunes and left a review. Thank you. Thank you from the bottom of the bottom. Like started from the bottom over here.
Before we forget for this live studio audience, so you're probably sick of us saying this, but we have like what feels like a bajillion events coming up. So quickly, so that everyone knows, next week we will be in Dallas, Texas at Podcast Movement. Doc and I are going to be recording in front of a live, you guys, studio audience from our booth in Dallas. So if you live in Dallas, you just want to come hang out, we have a meetup going on Monday, the 22nd. Please RSVP, let us know so we can bring fun swag and hang out with you. If you're going to be at the event, swing by our booth. We'd love to see you. And then following that, we're going to be at Content Marketing World in Cleveland, Ohio. So, anyone that is in the area that wants to meet up, definitely let us know. Or if you're going to be at the event, come by and say hi to us. Doc's speaking. And then we're going to People of Video, which is going to be so much fun. It's on the East Coast. So all you East Coasters, we are going to be big and there and ready to hang out and meet everyone. So hopefully you'll swing by peopleofvideo.com and grab your tickets. And then finally, Caleb and I are off to the UK in early November. We're going to be hanging out with Ian Anderson Gray, Andrew and Pete, Janet Murray, the whole UK Ecamm contingent for Courageous Content Live. So lots of events. And then obviously at the top of the hour, we also talked about our virtual event, Leap into Live, is Leaping into Podcasting this year. That's September 29th and 30th. leapintopodcasting.com to grab your free pass. So there's no excuses. no reason why we don't see all of you there, but
for
lots going
podcasting, on. It is important. And for right now, I want to ask Caleb if to check into this. You have to put the WWWs it's doing one of those weird things that not ConvertKit.
Put those W's in.
It happens, but just stick to www and it should solve that problem. I don't know why it does that, but I'll ask Caleb, see if he can.
Yeah, we'll get that solved. Dean, no, we're not going to NAB this year, but that one's been on our list for a while. We got we got bombarded with all of the video events that we want to go to happen between like August and December, and it is so hard to choose. So these are the big four that we're heading to this year, in addition to our own that we're running.
Vegas just because it was closer.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. There's so much stuff happening. And
thank you, Paul, for dropping all those days and times and links. You're the best. You see this? Like, you're the best. Yeah.
And I'm going to play our cool little promo to remind you what's going on in Leap. You are going to want to get in and get your reservations and stuff down as soon as possible. It just makes life easier. And then, can't wait to get ready to go hang out with Rich. And I have a live stream in 20 minutes. So for my people, I'll see you guys back again very soon. Very soon. Yay. All right. Thanks, Kate.